Hello and welcome to another episode of Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Connect, president of Universal Accounting Center, and this is a show dedicated to helping owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses offer quality accounting services and, in fact, take care of their clients so that they can ultimately get paid what they're worth. It's where we take care of you, giving you the ideas, insights, and perspectives of things that you need to consider as you're running your business. I have on the show experts sharing with us various things that we need to consider as it relates to marketing, selling, pricing, maybe tech stacks, staff training, onboarding clients, retaining clients, mental health, and so many other topics. Today's going to be a wonderful episode, one that I've been looking forward to. It's related to marketing, and we're going to get into some deep dive things that are essential for us growing our businesses. I have on the show Jeremy Estey. He happens to have a background in broadcast communications and was in the radio industry for many years in Canada while doing also some things in television. He also started playing golf when he was 6 years old, and being passionate and competitive as a golfer, it allowed him to actually be promoted, or rather prompted, to starting his online golf news platform covering golf in Canada and the US until 2009. Now, he transitioned out of the golf media space in 2016 and started a website design and development company called Iconic Web Development. In 2018, he merged with another marketing agency to form what is now known as Amber Sky Marketing. Amber Sky Marketing helps actually accounting firms grow and move away from the high volume, low profit, time sucking tax returns towards high profitable and easy to manage recurring cash clients using search engine optimization. So, Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Roger. It's a pleasure. Looking forward to have a conversation with you. I'm passionate about search engine optimization, all things online marketing, and just really excited to have this conversation.
Perfect. Well, we're going to definitely touch on a few things golf related, but yes, we want to
Love
focus
it.
on essentially marketing and what it is for an accounting firm. So I am curious. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of a backstory here to show the catalyst into the more or less the radio TV space into now online and what it is you're doing for accounting firms today.
Yeah, for sure. So I studied broadcast communications, broadcast journalism way back when. And I was in that space for a while. At the same time, too, I was actually doing overnights in radio, doing an overnight radio show, and then basically waking up at noon, going to the golf course, playing, practicing. I had, I essentially wanted to play professional golf. I learned very, very quickly that that probably wasn't the right direction for me. But I realized that there was an opportunity to provide golf information, golf news within Canada. That's kind of where I saw the opportunity started.
Yep.
And then it just kind of morphed into something bigger than that. I started covering like the PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, bigger events, covered some major championships. And it just kind of meshed my passion for golf with, my background in broadcast communications, broadcast journalism. So it was essentially a news authoritative platform. So we were doing like news articles, podcasts. Actually started a podcast way before podcasts were cool. And doing like some video interviews and all that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of how I got started in that. And then right around, I would say 2016, it was kind of a weird time in that space because people were trying to figure out how to best monetize, their content outside of like just the advertising of it. Because when you're in the news space like that, your biggest revenue driver is advertisements, but then also, it's really hard if there's people putting out similar content, it was really trying to figure out, how can we sell the advertising, but then also create like a subscription type of model and have like paywalls up. And so there's a lot of bigger companies like New York Times and, USA Today, here in Canada, Globe and Mail. They were trying to figure this out. But at the end of the day, it really came down to the amount of work I was putting into it versus the compensation didn't quite make sense at the end of the day. And not to mention there was a competitor that kind of came into my space, a bigger company. They were doing a magazine among other things, and they had essentially more resources than I had to compete. And so I kind of saw the writing on the wall. And then that kind of, prompted me to start thinking about kind of where I wanted to kind of transition into. And essentially, just right around that time, coincidentally, there was a friend of mine who has a business. He was looking for a website. He knew that I had a website. Like, I'm not like a web developer designer by trade. I know the ins and outs. I know some basic coding and stuff, but basically I had reached out to a friend of mine who, was helping me with my golf stuff. And I asked him if he wanted to partner on this. I just asked my friend to, send me information about the project scope. He sent it back to me. I kind of sent it back. Hey, this is what we can do for you. He said, great, let's get started. So that's kind of how I got started in, the website kind of design space. But just going back to the golf stuff, that's where I learned my online marketing, because like I was saying before, it's, you're putting content out there. You need to figure out how to get it in front of people so you can sell advertising. So that's where I learned the online marketing game. And then if we fast forward to 2018, there's an opportunity to merge the web development company with another marketing agency. That's the humble beginnings of Amber Sky Marketing. And then we kind of dabbled in the generalist space, kind of taking everyone and kind of anyone on at first. And then we kind of soon realized there's opportunity in the accounting space. And then, kind of with CAS and client advisory services, we saw there's an opportunity there, because this was, kind of a new solution, not necessarily a new solution, but, a package of services that were kind of on the rise. And we noticed there's a lot of accounting firms that were, adding it to their firm. So we kind of went all in with the accounting space. And I'm a big fan of niching down. And so that's kind of how Amber Sky started and kind of where we are today.
Well, I'm going to dive into a number of things that you mentioned there. Obviously, your communications background is going to play into this, but one of the things that clearly is evident is you had to adapt and change. And I'm sure a lot of people in my audience can relate to adapting and changing. And you, in that adaptation, ended up focusing not only on marketing and SEO as it related to online, but you also at the same time started to niche, as you indicated, and started to focus on accounting firms, particularly those that want to get in the CAS space. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But let's kind of go a little deeper here as it relates to accounting. You clearly are in that space now since 2018, focusing on accounting firms and what they can be doing from an SEO perspective. So let's first of all define SEO. What does SEO mean?
Yeah, so SEO stands for search engine optimization. And what it is, it's the process of getting your web pages indexed and ranked on the search engines. I guess for the sake of this conversation, we'll just reference Google. They're the big players in the search space. And so it's optimizing the web pages so that the search engines can crawl your web pages. And I talk about web pages because there's a misconception that the website as a whole gets ranked, but it's in fact the individual pages that get ranked individually. So Google, for example, they've got a set of what they call ranking factors, ranking signals. You may have heard the term. That it's basically like a list or rules, if you will, that they kind of want to see amongst your website, and they want you to configure the website or optimize it according to those rules or those ranking factors. And there's, a lot of ranking factors. I mean, depending on who you talk to, could be anywhere between 200 and maybe 500. Google kind of keeps that close to their chest. There are ranking factors that are really, really well known. Just Google kind of releases some stuff, and like there's basics that they want you to do for sure. And so that's essentially what search engine optimization is in a nutshell. It's configuring or optimizing your web pages so that the search engines can crawl them, decipher the content on the web pages, determine how relevant it is to the search terms, or in this case, keywords or phrases that people are using, and then deliver that that content as it best relates to those keywords or those search phrases. And one thing to kind of keep in mind is how Google looks at it. And Google's kind of taken on, I guess where they're at, they're trying to provide the best user experience, right? So essentially they want to rank the web pages that have the best content, best user experience, and that's where, search engine optimization comes into play.
Yeah. The way I would actually describe it is you're taking essentially your brochure that you're using to market yourself and you're digitally putting it online. And so that's your website. And what we're trying to do here is basically go beyond you sending people to your website by your business cards, your emails, telling people about your website, and essentially saying to Google, as you indicated, we'll focus with Google, here's who I am. Can you share it with other people? And in order to play that game, this website, your online brochure, needs to be something that is relevant, that the person who's going to land on it is going to find worth spending time on. And so Google's looking at bounce rate. When people land there, do they disappear or do they actually stay for a period of time? Do they click on multiple pages? So it's page views. Are they just going to the one page that they land on, or are they kind of scrolling through the site, exploring what the content is? And those types of things, time on site, page views, bounce rate, those things are actually going to help as it looks at, here's a website of basically accounting firms, and is this one that I should deliver to an audience because they tend to find it valuable. Now, what that does from an SEO point of view is then it's compelling to say, okay, I've got this website, I've got this online brochure. How do I make it so that people want to come back and stay on the site? And that's the content creation. So from a content perspective, you're talking about SEO, creating relevant content that the search engine's going to crawl and find valuable to send or serve up in the searches. So there are certain things that you're doing with keyword density so that you can, in the title, in the content, in the meta tags, try and help the crawl, the spiders determine whether or not this is something that they should serve up in searches. So let's talk about creating content. What advice do you have for your accounting clients as they're creating content to try and, be a blogger, be a newsletter writer? What is it that you're suggesting they actually craft as they're writing and creating these components that make up the SEO?
Yeah, and I just want to go back to what you're mentioning there. Those are all great points, and those are all, a part of SEO. There are a lot of moving pieces to search engine optimization that I think a lot of people don't quite understand. They just think of having a website up, and then Google is going to automatically rank it, and they're going to get all this traffic coming to the website. So going back to your question in regards to the content, yeah. So I think it starts with, who are your ideal clients? Like, who do you want to attract, right? Maybe you're niching down your accounting firm to a specific industry. Let's just say HVAC, for example. Let's just say you have an accounting firm that is in and you're in the HVAC space. It's essentially creating content that those customers, the content that they're looking for, answering the questions, like what are on the minds of your clients. And, so that comes down to, understanding the space. I think that's a huge piece of it. Talking to your clients, like what are some of the pain points that you have, and how can we solve that? And then crafting content that speaks directly to them, just provides value. Like, I'm all about giving away like almost everything in terms of like content or like strategies and all that stuff, and having people just absorb that by giving away that content. To you build trust, you build credibility. People see that and they're like, oh, he's just not trying to sell me something, he's just truly trying to help me, solve my problem, or maybe get an answer to the questions that I have, right?
Yeah.
And so content creation is a huge piece of search engine optimization. Like we talked about, Google looks at, quality content, how it relates to keywords, and then ranks it accordingly. And so if you can just create amazing content, basically, like if somebody reads your content, you're making them better off than before they read that content. And then you can essentially charge for the implementation of that content. So like if I can turn this back to like marketing, for example, giving away just amazing content. You're like, oh, how do I rank my website using SEO? They read a piece of content. They're like, great, I need this. I don't have the time, the energy. I don't want to learn how to do it. That's where hiring, Amber Sky Marketing, for example, or hiring the accounting firm to look after those accounting challenges, right? And so that's kind of how content plays a piece of it as well.
Yeah, the advice that I've been given as it relates to creating the content, writing the content, is to really just keep it simple. It's what we learned in
Totally.
school. It's first of all addressing the what, helping the reader understand what it is we're talking about and why it matters. The why is where we're going to expound on how it's relevant to them. And with regards to the why, help them understand that why it's important for them to take care or address this now. The how is kind of the how-to guide of implementing, putting this into place, applying it. But the point is even when the reader reads what this is and why it matters to them, even giving them the how-to steps, especially as it relates to accounting, they're going to see you now as the expert. They're reading your content. They obviously see that you know what you're talking about, but the how isn't something they necessarily have the time for. And so even though you're sharing with them these how-tos, they'll ultimately see, okay, this is something that I clearly need you to take care of. You know what you're doing. And that's when they're going to ultimately reach out, seeing you now as the expert, and pay you for your services. And so I think for an SEO strategy is you need to actually understand that you need to communicate to your clients what it is that they need to be understanding, why it matters to them, and how this is something that they can take advantage of. And then at the end of the day, they're going to be more inclined to reach out to you and discuss your services. And so that's kind of that evolution of how do you write that content? And I don't know if we want to dive into this now, but to know what those topics are, it's just listening to your customers. What questions are they asking? And that's going to be a good indication of what it is you should be writing, because it's to them you're drafting the content. So let's kind of take this beyond SEO. Let's talk about CAS. You brought that up earlier. We mentioned that CAS is a term that's related to accounting that's starting to become much more common in the accounting space. It's clearly meant to represent client accounting services. And for people in the accounting space, it's where the profession has actually moved towards providing more value as it relates to accounting services. And so that's where we see many firms going beyond the traditional bookkeeping, accounting, and tax services into more tax strategies, CFO, and advisory type services. So what are you finding as you work with your accounting firms, how they are able to use SEO to now introduce and offer these types of CAS services?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And it comes back to the content piece. I think, one, educating, you know, clients about what exactly these advisory services are. If we look at it from a content strategy, taking your advisory services, breaking them down into pieces of content, talking about, like, let's say part of your CAS solution is cash flow management. So taking that topic, writing about cash flow management, your firm's process in that, talking about how it's going to make your client better off, and it's about selling the outcome, like how much better is life and business going to be by using, let's just say, the cash flow management service that's implemented into the CAS solutions, and not selling just like, oh, we're an accounting firm, we do CAS, we do virtual CFO, cash flow management, we do risk management, we do financial reporting and analysis, right? But really breaking it down into the individual pieces, educating clients on those specific pieces, and then talking about, like, by doing using this service, this is how your business is going to be financially better in the future, and how much and how operations are going to improve, and it's going to relieve stress in your life, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, regarding the services, I think this is a great opportunity for us to, on our website, expound a lot more of what this is.
Totally.
Many of the business owners are unfamiliar with what a lot of these things are. Cash flow management, for example, what does that really mean? And so for us to take an opportunity to educate the business owner of things that they're experiencing in their day-to-day business lives, but just don't have the context or the familiarity to know that that's cash flow management, we're able to educate them and let them know that there is a strategy, a process that they can actually implement. There's something that they can do that is not just being reactive to the cash flow, but rather managing the cash flow. And as you go about this process of educating the client, they'll see you as the expert and perhaps lean in towards wanting your services to get on top of this part of their business. So I like this part of the education side of the SEO. Now, as it relates to how important someone's online presence is, we're clearly beyond the phase of just having a website. I think those days are gone. Having just a digital brochure on the internet to say, I'm in business, I'm legitimate, I'm here, I'm here for the long haul. What we're trying to do now is utilize this platform to grow our business. In fact, many of the firms I'm familiar with, they are trying to actually take on remote or distant clients. And that being the case, the website becomes much more relevant in this process. What are some key elements that you feel are essential to having an effective online presence?
Yeah, I think having your messaging dialed in for sure, right? And this comes down to really focusing on, who are your ideal clients? What are the challenges you're solving for them, right? And then having that front and center so that, everything that you do online is centered around, we help, I'll just go back to the accounting firm and niching down into the HVAC market, but, we help HVAC companies, whatever that looks like. Sorry, I just kind of had like a mental block there in regards to like how to like articulate that. But essentially, having your message front and center, right? Because you have to look at your website as it's like your digital storefront, right? You need to have that, right? So if you look at it from a brick and mortar standpoint, if you're walking down the street, maybe you see there's a store you might want to go into, but maybe the canopy is ripped and the windows are dirty. You look inside and the store is messy, it's cluttered, it's dirty. Is that going to want to entice you to go in there and look around? Probably not. And so if you look at it from an online standpoint, your website's essentially kind of the same idea. You need to have your first, it's all about first impressions, right? And especially with so much stuff out there online right now, if you're not capturing, the attention right off the bat, people who visit your website are going to bounce and they'll go somewhere else. And the chances of them returning, are pretty slim. And so with your online presence, it's leveraging your website, looking at it as like the foundation to all of your online marketing. That's like the focal hub. And then, excuse me, leveraging an omni-channel presence, essentially like using social media, email marketing, Google ads, Facebook ads, and kind of encompassing all that together and creating content regularly, putting it out there in front of people, right? And using it as like a branding play. And if you look at it from a branding standpoint, branding takes a little while to kind of start seeing results and to build momentum, right? But once the momentum's created, people start seeing you, your message, your content, just your accounting firm name in general, it gets ingrained into their subconscious. They may not be looking for, your services at that specific moment, but when they do, the first person or the first company that comes to mind is your company, just because you've taken them on a journey through discovery of, your company, your accounting firm. You've given them valuable insights. They've learned stuff from you. You're not just like pushing sales down their throat, but you're generally creating a relationship, creating trust. And like you said, Roger, positioning yourself as the expert, because I don't know about you, but when I'm looking for a service, I want to work with the best. I want to work with somebody who, understands my industry or my challenges, right? And so getting your content out in front of everyone on a regular basis, helps drive people back to your website. And essentially, it converts into new business.
Yeah, what you've brought up is actually search engine marketing, and that actually does what's called TOMA, top of mind awareness, and it's just being readily available in that person's mindset so that when the need arises, they think of you. And so that's different than SEO. SEO is more the optimization of the searches so that when people are searching, they find you. But search engine marketing is proactively going out there, spending the dollar to be in front of your ideal customer and constantly being in their presence. But there are two things that I wanted to tap into that you brought up. One, search engine marketing clearly is what you talked about, but then the online experience. Real quickly, I wanted to point out that so many clients no longer come to our offices. They don't get to come into that office space physically to see what it is that you have as an environment wherein you work. So because of that, the office now is the website. Is your website cluttered? Is it organized? Is it something that is very understanding? Does it communicate something about you as a person? There used to be a time when the website used to be impersonal, something that wasn't relatable. Today it has to be personable, and it's where you actually bring the personas, you, your team, and put them out there so that you're actually now more approachable. And so there's this idea that the website needs to be that office experience, even though many of our clients are no longer physically coming to us. And so it's something to keep in mind. But let's talk about SEM, search engine marketing. That's something that you just brought up a moment ago as to the paid efforts that we're doing to, whether it be on social media, have a presence, have our ads going out there. It's just that constant thing that we're doing to ever be present in our potential client's mind. Let's talk about search engine marketing. What does that look like? And do you have any advice for individuals as they're considering where they should be spending their dollars as it relates to their search engine marketing?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess if we look at it, so like with Amber Sky, we can offer like a blended search strategy using SEO and Google Ads, for example. So what Google Ads are, there's a number of different types of Google Ads, but for specifically for this conversation, for answering your question, we'll look at Google search ads. So when you're on a search engine results page, you'll notice at the top that there's usually 2 to 3 listings right at the top, and there's a little text that says sponsored. So what those are paid ads. So essentially you're paying Google to rent that space atop the search engine results pages, right? And so what is good about those is, one, they're front and center. They leverage keywords that people are looking for. With Google search ads specifically, customers are usually further down the buying cycle because they're searching for, like, let's just say accounting firms in Los Angeles, for example, right? So that's going to say, oh, I'm looking for an accounting firm. And then one comes up, it's right front and center. They click on it, it takes them to that person's webpage. And so the beauty of those is that you can get quick wins with that, because essentially once you go in and you create the ad and you hit submit, it's essentially live almost immediately. So people will, you can start getting traffic to your website or wherever you want to kind of direct the ad to almost immediately. If we look at the other side of it, Facebook ads, for example, Facebook ads are also great. However, Facebook ads are more of like a brand awareness play. Because you're going on Facebook not necessarily to look for something to buy, right? You're going on Facebook to, socialize, to look at what's going on, right? And then you'll scroll down, you'll come across, oh, this ad makes sense to me, right? This is what I'm looking for. And then so you'll click into it that way. With Facebook, they have who knows how many millions of pieces of data points that you can tap into for really targeting very specific customers, geographic locations, income, business sizes, all that kind of stuff. So you can get really, really targeted to your customers. You can do that with Google as well, like the Google Ads side of it, not necessarily to the extent that Facebook offers you, but that's just another piece of it. So if you look at it from an omni-channel marketing strategy, omni-channel meaning like you're essentially hitting all different avenues with marketing. So search engine optimization, content marketing, the paid ads or search engine marketing, podcasts, guest posting, all that other stuff, getting your website, your firm name, your content out in front of everyone through every essentially channel available to you. Even marketing, if you have email marketing, let's say you have a list of 10,000 people, sending content out through them as well, and offers. And so tying it all together essentially is, the most effective strategy. There's a lot that goes into that. There's cost, there's energy, and there's time, obviously, that plays into that. But
well, let me jump in. I want to
yeah,
talk about funnel marketing. One of the
sure.
things that is an extension of search engine marketing is
Yes.
you're paying this advertising dollar to not just be in front of, but
Yeah.
actually have a call to action offering something to those viewers. And so the intent is with the ads, whether it's Google ads or the Facebook ads, we're trying to actually now have the person click on the ad and go
Mhm.
somewhere. And that typically brings us not just to the website, but something that we're offering so as to capture their information. The whole goal is to now take them from the internet, which is we don't know who they are and who's
Mhm.
looking at us. We want to bring them into our circle and actually capture their contact information so that we can intentionally reach out and market to our client list. And that means we have to acquire not only their name, but their contact information, preferably their email. And that being the case, there's typically what's called funnel marketing. You're going to drive them to a landing page where you're offering them something, and that's in exchange for their contact information. So, what can you say about that and how an accounting firm can leverage this to basically find and now begin marketing to their potential clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it starts at, the top of funnel, as it's called. That's kind of where you're trying to educate your audience on what you do, on some of the services, educate them about the services, giving away content, like you mentioned, Roger. So let's say you have a Facebook ad that's talking about how to put a spreadsheet together to track your finances a little bit better, whatever that is. I'm just obviously using that as an example. So they would click onto that, and then you've created, let's say, like an ebook or a guide, or maybe um, you know an online course, something really valuable that really makes sense. Kind of a no-brainer. Like, yeah, like I'll definitely put in my email address, my contact info, to get this piece of information, or to get, whatever it is you're trying to get in the hands of those people. And then, once they have that information, you can continue marketing to them. Let's just say, like an email opt-in. So let's say you click on a Facebook ad, it takes you to what's called the landing page, which is just like a small one-page website, if you will, that's very targeted about what you're getting, and what this company is giving away. In this case, let's just say a financial spreadsheet ebook that helps you how to build that. So then there would be a little section underneath it. I'm sure you've seen it, where you can put in your email, submit your email, get access to this. So then your email address then goes into an email list, and there's a number of email marketing programs on the market, which, if you do a Google search, you'll get a few pages of them. But essentially, it goes into your list, and then if you leverage that list through the email marketing software, you can create like a drip campaign, where you create a series of emails providing value, talking about different offers that you have, really trying to like create awareness for your company, trying to get people to take an action, and essentially build that relationship, right? And then so the top of the funnel part of it is the education piece. Nobody really knows who you are, so you're trying to create attention for that. And then the second piece with that, you look at it as like the mid funnel. It's essentially, okay, people know who you are, they've read some of your stuff. Then it's about, you know um, giving them information on how you can help them, and then just really, nurturing that relationship, like giving them like a small offer so that they actually take, that they actually do, right?
Mhm.
um, and then from there, essentially, they work their way down the funnel, which is, who they are, you trust them. Sorry, I guess going back to the mid funnel part, it's more about building that relationship. The top of the funnel is getting the awareness out. Middle would be building that relationship, nurturing it, and then the bottom of it is, okay, we know who you are. We trust what you're giving us, trust the information. And then the bottom piece is essentially converting that now into them reaching out. I need your services, and whatever.
Yep.
So hopefully that's articulated kind of what you're talking about. I feel like I was kind of all over the place with that.
Yeah, well, let me try and wrap it up. I think this is something that
Yes.
we need to really understand. First of all, you've got your SEO, so the search engine
Yeah.
optimization. That's where you're actually creating content that allows the search engines to drive traffic to you based on people's searches. But we can't rely on that. That's something that isn't going to be very large in traffic volume. So we have to then go to search engine marketing. Search engine marketing is spending the dollars to be in front of our ideal client, knowing who they are and being able to put in front of them various things that are of interest so that we can ultimately, through ads, get them to basically click on, through a call to action, a offer. The offer typically is that top of funnel that you were mentioning, where we're basically saying, in exchange for your contact information, I'm willing to give you this thing for free. Typically it's an ebook, a white paper, it's a free consultation. It's something that you feel you can offer that would be of interest to your potential customer. That is in exchange for their contact information, because now that that's been captured and put into your CRM, you're able to now take control and market them accordingly. And that typically involves email marketing, possibly it's phone calls. But generally, from an email marketing point of view, we're going to be nurturing them and we're going to be educating them, positioning ourselves as the expert through information so that they can learn what it is that they should know about their business, how this is something that can improve their business, and why we're the experts to be able to facilitate this. And it's through that education process they turn to basically understanding your services. They're able to see the relevance of what it is you offer for them, and ultimately see you as being the expert to provide that service. And through that process, we're hoping that the call to action be that they want to meet with us one-on-one. Once they meet with us, the opportunity to now offer our services is there. We're able to ask for that engagement and hopefully acquire that new client. And the journey of that process varies. For some, it's very short. It can be days, weeks, months. For others, it can be years. But if we can build that ideal website that can drive people into our office, our virtual office, if we can, through our marketing, give them a call to action that essentially says, in exchange for your information, I'll give you something of value, then we're able to now market them through this nurture campaign of education and positioning ourselves as an expert to eventually acquire a client. And so that's that whole journey wrapped up into one. So that'd be my summary of that. But let's talk about niching. That's one last thing that I wanted to hit on. You
Sure.
did it in your interest in, as an agency focusing on accounting firms. You obviously work with the firms that are clients of yours to help them identify that niching is a valuable thing for them to consider as well. So what would you say about niching?
Yeah, so I really like niching. I think it's a really good play for business. One, it streamlines a lot of things. If you're looking at it from a marketing standpoint and positioning standpoint, makes things like your messaging really, really tight, because one, you know who your clients are, you know the problems that you're solving, right? So you can speak exactly to those types of clients, right? Whereas if you're more of a generalist type of firm or just business in general, you know, you're kind of working with kind of whoever will give you a credit card essentially. And then it's like, how do you position yourself? Like, how do you set yourself apart from the other firms that are offering the same services, right? So with niching, it allows you to really go deep on one specific client, understand that client, understand their needs. And then from there, you can create products, solutions, services around those specific needs. Like if you look at it from a CAS standpoint, you know, there's a number of different services that make up, you know, CAS services. So by niching, let's say you made, you know, a very specific CAS solution that's packaging a number of those different services, and the services are, you know, the exact services that the clients within your niche really, really need. So if you can create that product, sell that product, you know, to those clients, get the exact messaging around that, like how this product solves that specific accounting challenge that that client has, then you just sell those, you know, those, or that product or that solution all day, every day. And then from there, it's essentially helps your operations out a lot, because, you know, you have kind of that one deliverable that's packaged into this one product. It makes it easy to, you know, deliver that, in regards to like training staff how to do it, essentially setting up some standard operating procedures around how to deliver that. And then you can essentially scale a lot easier as well, because instead of, having all these other different pieces, right? You're just focused on that one solution. It's got all the services that your client needs. And, it positions you as that person in the market that solves that specific problem. And that's how you differentiate yourself, right? Is speaking to that type of client, using the language and the vocabulary that they use, because, that's kind of a pro tip as well. If I will add one is, when people see that, using the language that, is within that space, like, oh yeah, like that's exactly it. Like that's the problem I need solved. And this guy or this company clearly knows what they're talking about. So there are a lot of advantages to niching down for sure. I think there's a misconception about it as well that, well, if I'm niching down, I'm missing out on the bigger kind of market, essentially. Sure, that could be the case. But at the end of the day, you're only focused on a very specific client. You know exactly where they hang out. You can laser focus your marketing efforts on how to attract those clients. And essentially, it's just really a more efficient and effective way of looking at business, I think.
Yeah. With regards to niching, I think there's two things that you brought up that are very important. First of all, the misnomer. It does not mean necessarily that you are excluding your services from other potential clients. So it doesn't mean you have to turn away others. It just means that your messaging is very specific to a particular industry so that you're able to resonate with them. You're using their vocabulary. Your messaging has their look and feel as an industry. And so what you're doing is you're appealing to them more directly. And in doing so, yes, you may exclude or push others away, but it's not to say you won't service them. There's plenty of people I know that service not just a particular niche, but other industries as well. And in fact, I know that once they've done very well in one niche, they'll oftentimes go and focus on a second and a third to diversify their firm. So yeah, niching, great topic. I always love going into that one. All right, so I've got an off-topic question for you regarding golf. Obviously, as a golfer, I'm assuming you still golf. Is that right?
I do, not as much as I would like. We have a little one that's actually going to be 1 year, August 25th. So that's kind of taking up a lot of time as well. And then obviously, running Amber Sky marketing. I'm probably playing twice a month, maybe, if that. But yeah, I still have the bug.
All right. So where's the best course that you've golfed? What's the one that's your favorite?
I mean, there's so many courses.
Got to pick your best. Give me one.
I would say probably Bear Mountain.
Bear Mountain, okay.
Which is on Vancouver Island.
Is there any particular reason why Bear Mountain stands out?
It's just a really very interesting piece of property. It's a 36-hole golf course. It was designed by Jack Nicklaus. And his design company. They've hosted some PGA Tour events there. It's really hard to explain unless you go, but like it's just a really interesting piece of property. Like there's a few holes that kind of overlook the Pacific Ocean. So I'm on Vancouver Island, which is essentially Pacific Northwest, where not far from Seattle. We're like a 3-hour ferry ride to downtown Seattle. But essentially there's one specific hole on the mountain course from Bear Mountain where you get to the green and you look down, you see the Pacific Ocean, you see Washington State in the background, you see all of Victoria in basically like the horizon. It's just an unbelievable experience. And it's one of my favorites, and it's in my backyard too. So and it's challenging. I like golf courses where you really have to think and not just driver wedge into the green kind of thing. So
gotcha. And so what's a bucket list course that you'd like to do?
A bucket list course, I mean, I think any passionate golfer is going to say St. Andrews for sure. Haven't had a chance to play St. Andrews yet. That's one golf club I would really like to play. I think Riviera, actually, in Los Angeles. Okay. They have the Genesis Open. Haven't had a chance to play there, but just from watching it on TV, it just looks spectacular. That's one golf course that's definitely on the bucket list for sure as well.
Okay. And which do you consider your strength? The driver on the fairway or more the green doing the putting?
So I would say my biggest strength is my accuracy off the tee. So my driver is for the most part fairly straight. There's the odd time it'll go left or right, but
Uh-huh.
if I'm hitting it well, it's definitely driver. And then I would say my putting. Those are kind of my two strengths, I would say, for my golf game.
All right. All right. Well, this has been very good. Jeremy, I appreciate you sharing with me those things. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap this up, first of all, by going to the episode offerings. For our listeners, one of the things that I'd like to point out is if you're interested in connecting with Jeremy and learning more of the 4 components that make up a strategy for SEO and having a good online presence, feel free to reach out to Jeremy. You can go to their website, which you'll find in the episode description, or I'm putting in the episode description also his contact information so you can speak with him directly. In addition to that, there are a few things that I'd like to draw your attention to. First of all, as related to CAS services, I want you to consider not obviously, but I'm going to tell you the book called Your Strategic Accountant. Your Strategic Accountant is specifically written to help you understand what CAS services you should be providing and what you should be doing as you're working with your clients to, in fact, provide for them the full accounting services that they need in order to be successful. The second thing that I'd like to draw your attention to happens to be what is called the universal CRM. It's how to automate your accounting services and the things that you're doing to get the clients you deserve by providing quality accounting services online. And so it is basically a CRM webinar where we talk about different things that you can do to nurture your client lists and bring them to the point of becoming a client of you. So check out that information, find out more what you can be doing to make the most of that. And then, as it relates to the discussion today, as a summary, here's just a few things that I took as highlights. Clearly, we talked about SEO, the value of that, and how you would actually leverage that as it relates to getting the traffic you deserve on your site. We talked about having a great website in the sense that it's essential to provide that online experience, being that so many clients no longer come to our office. And so we want to have that favorable experience, putting forth hopefully that personable feel that allows them to get to know you and your staff and relate to you and see what it is you do. We talked about the value of search engine marketing and how it's important to consider where it is you can spend your dollars to constantly be in front of your clients. It's referred to as TOMA, top of mind awareness, so that you're ever present. And in doing so, it's basically offering them information for free as to things that they need to consider as they're running their business to learn from you as an expert, those things that they need to be doing in their business. And in doing so, they'll actually gain a greater appreciation for the services you're offering and ultimately see a need to meet with you one-on-one and find out about your services. In doing so, you're moving them through that process of essentially nurturing them to the point of getting a new client. Now, as it relates to what Jeremy was sharing, I do feel that there's a great deal of value in niching. I think that's something that we ought to consider. He did point out that there are some downsides, but if you do it right, they don't have to be. And so I think that's something that was very important to realize. But at the end of the day, it's essentially this conversation today about search engine optimization is merely recognizing that we need to have a more powerful and intentional strategy as it relates to our online presence. And so I'm glad that we were able to discuss that today. So as a final thought, Jeremy, what would you like to leave with?
Yeah, I would just say, if you're looking to grow your firm, if you're looking to scale, definitely need to look at online marketing strategies. They do work. And then it just comes down to which ones are going to move the needle for your accounting firm. I could go and talk about this forever, but SEO is still relevant. It is evolving. There's lots of stuff going on with SEO now that AI is coming to the forefront, but it's just a matter of adapting a strategy and getting really, really dialed in to what you're trying to do.
Very good. I like it. All right. Well, for everyone, that's going to be a wrap. One of the things I'd like you to do is if you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, I'd invite you to do so. Set your notifications so that each and every week you get a notification.
We may have a problem here. All right. Jeremy, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. All right. So what I'm going to have you do, since we're just going to have to do, I'll pull that I'll pull that from that. So what we're going to do is we're going to record the promo piece now. All right. So when you're ready, whenever you'd like to start, just record the promo piece and we'll make it happen. All right.
Yeah, just give me 1 sec here.
Yeah, hang on a sec.
I'm just
Roger's
kind of
back.
reading. Estey was Are you ready? It's rolling right now.
Yep.
This is Jeremy Estey from Amber Sky Marketing. Just wanted to say it was a pleasure. I had a lot of fun chatting with Roger about search engine optimization and different online strategies that the accounting space can leverage to help them grow their firm and attract more business. Sorry,
You want to redo it?
lost. Yeah,
You can do it.
I'll read. Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right, here we go. So Jeremy Estey from Amber Sky Marketing. Just wanted to say thank you to Roger for allowing me to be a part of the podcast, chat about search engine optimization and online marketing. This was an episode of Building the Premier Accounting Firm podcast. It doesn't really sound that right. Building to record with.
Go ahead, just start at the top, and you can just follow the script.
Yeah, totally.
Just follow the script, and I help you out.
Jeremy. This is Jeremy Estey from Amber Sky Marketing. It was a pleasure. Had a lot of fun to record with Roger an episode of Building the Premier Accounting Firm podcast. We discussed search engine optimization, how you can leverage it to, essentially. Sorry. One more time here.
Mm-hmm.
This is Jeremy Estey from Amber Sky Marketing. Just wanted to say it was a pleasure, and I had a lot of fun to record with Roger the episode of. Here we go again. This is Jeremy Estey from Amber Sky Marketing. It was a pleasure. Had a lot of fun to record with Roger an episode of Building the Premier Accounting Firm podcast. We discussed search engine optimization, how firms can leverage it to attract more clients. We talked about search engine marketing. We also talked about niching down. So I invite you to have a listen and join us.
Perfect. Now, Brian, I didn't get a chance to actually end the podcast either. How do you want to do that?
We'll just cut it in because you end it the same way at everything else. So unless you want to record the very end right now.
No, and you can cut it in. Just make sure it happens. I don't want to have it not happen.